Hey guys, what is going on? Today is Sunday. Sunday means only one thing, long run day. Today specifically is a zone 2 long run. We are in the base building phase, so right now we are building a base for the rest of the season. And today I would like to share with you some hopefully helpful tips that you can apply on your own journey, on your own zone 2 training sessions, and that might help you progress faster and become that badass endurance athlete that you want to become. Let's go. So the number one thing that is crucially important to nail the long run is warming up. Warming up is insanely important, and I learned this the very hard way. Even just a couple of exercises really make the world of difference. So warming up first thing. The second crucial thing about nailing the long run is identifying what kind of long run it is. There are two types of long run. There's a zone 2 long run and there's long runs with race specific blocks in them. So today specifically, because it is January, we are doing a zone 2 long run. Zone 2 long run is just meant to ensure that we build a huge base to then build upon and do the long runs with race specific blocks. And for zone 2 runs, the most important thing is realizing that intensity is everything. Intensity and heart rate. These are the two things upon which a zone 2 run depends. Nothing else matters. No speed, no pace, no nothing. The only thing that matters is heart rate and intensity. What we're trying to do with the zone 2 run is basically go at an intensity at which we could sustain this pace forever. And that there's many formulas, I've made many videos about this, but specifically the easiest way to understand this is if you can maintain a conversation while you run. That is basically the way to understand where your true zone 2 is. So if you can sustain a conversation, you don't really want to sustain it, but you could, that is zone 2. Whenever you feel that you can't and you're gasping for air, that means the intensity is too high and the heart rate will probably be too high. The thing about heart rate is heart rate does not know what we are doing. It doesn't know if we are running, cycling, if we are running uphill, downhill. And that is the reason why zone 2 long run is not dependent on terrain, it's not dependent on anything. You can do the zone 2 long run wherever you want. It can be on trails, it can be on road, it can be flat, it can be with elevation. The only thing that is important is maintaining that heart rate zone, the zone 2 heart rate zone. And I think there's a huge value in the zone 2 runs, also just to understand, to figure out what our go all day pace is basically. Some people mistake the fact that it's a zone 2 run with the fact that you can never go above that zone. Well, that is not true. Of course, if you have like an incline, a small uphill, anything that will make your heart rate spike a little bit, it's fine. The most important thing is not just going out and doing like 40 minutes tempo. That's the thing. Overall, the session must be done in zone 2. The biggest benefit, of course, is that finding this intensity allows your body to go forever, basically. So you find that intensity that will allow you to go for a really long period of time. That is the way we build fitness, and we go and do ultra endurance events. It can be whatever. It can be Ironman 70.3, it can be a trail run, it can be anything, gravel race, whatever you want. Doing these long zone 2 sessions are really helpful. Big thing to note is, especially in the base building phase, so right now, when we're not doing any specific work, walking uphill is okay. Actually, walking in general is okay, because the only thing that matters is maintaining the correct heart rate. So right now, for instance, I'm going up an incline right now, okay? So what's gonna happen is, at the same pace, my heart rate is gonna spike. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna monitor my heart rate. When it gets above my zone 2, I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna bring it back down. And then I will start running again. Slowly, trying to dial in the pace. The dogs. Woo. Our next pretty important factor in the long run is surface type. The type of surface we choose, absolutely fundamentally important, because we can offload some joint fatigue by simply choosing some off-road surfaces. So compacted dirt trails, nothing technical, just really easy like this one. I've personally found that running on these surfaces is a super easy way to just basically get less fatigue and less stress on the joints. If you run on compacted dirt trails, I encourage you to do so and to just try for yourself, because it is really apparent when you're on pavement and when you are on a compacted dirt trail. It really makes a huge difference. Like for right now, I'm running on cement. If I go right here, it'll be completely different, just because the compacted dirt is a bit more forgiving. So definitely I would choose a compacted dirt surface to do long runs on. This trail is awesome. Personally, I always do the long runs on trails, especially in the base building phase. I find it so nice just to be out in nature. The next thing I would say is crucially important is starting the long run slow. There's different types of fatigue. There's a type of fatigue like when you go out and do all out sprints, it'll be one type of fatigue, comes on really, really fast. But with the zone 2 sessions, the fatigue comes on later. So basically, if we start the run slower than we think we can sustain for 2, 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is, it ensures that when we then reach that point after 90 minutes, it can be both leg fatigue but also just whole body fatigue, we have paced ourselves correctly, and that will ensure that we still have energy to get the session done. There's no shame in walking. Like, In these phases of base building, the only thing that matters is getting out there, elevated heart rate. We're just building fitness, building that fitness that later on in the season is going to allow us to build to race pace, get fast, and become endurance machines. Next thing is footwear choice. So there's a ton of choice of footwear, and of course it's all personal. You must experiment and find the shoe that you like. But for me, personally, I choose max cushion shoes, both on road and on trail. I weigh 72 kilos today. 72 kilos is a lot. Each and every step we take running is something like 3 or 5 times our body weight. That is a lot of weight on our joints. So having a max cushion shoe can really offload some of that joint stress. And that, in my opinion, is important for longevity in the sport. And I think it really works. If you go and look at the past few years, I've managed to keep it consistent, and I don't see many other people who have managed to keep it this consistent. So yeah, for sure, max cushion shoes. Personally, I use the Hoka Stinson 7 or the Stinson 6. Amazing trail shoe, also for ultras, so definitely recommend you checking them out. Oh, this is a tough climb. Whew. I think it's time to break out the poles for this one. So for instance, on this climb, we reached the absolute top of zone 2 because it was really steep. So now we walk, get our heart rate back down to 140, 144, and then resume running. The next thing about zone 2 training is the volume ramp up. So every week, basically, we progress if we do the training correctly. And what we need to do to progress even further is to increase the volume that we run on the long run every week. The most famously known volume ramp up is basically 10% per week. So you should increase your volume 10% per week. I think this is true, especially if you're doing road running. So marathons, Ironmans, and all that kind of stuff. You should increase your volume by 10%. I usually do around 3-kilometer increments. So like maybe 1 week 16, 1 week 19, 1 week 22. But when you are in the base building phase and if you run on trails, you can't really go by distance. So all you can do is go by time. So increase your time spent on the legs by around 10% every week. Another way you can do this is basically if you have a target event, you can reverse engineer your build up to see if it's even feasible from the day we are today to the day of your event. You can see what your last long run you would like it to be and then reverse engineer it to where you are today and see if it's doable. It might not be doable. So you might have to readjust your plan in order to get to where you want to be. This piece, the volume ramp up, guys, is extremely important. The most important thing is to not get injured. It's not to run more, but it's to not get injured. And here we come into the next point, which is you have to be consistent. In order to get the maximum gains from zone 2 training, you have to be consistent with it. You need to be doing it every week. It doesn't work if we do it once and then we can't do it because we're injured. So the one thing we have to be really, really careful about, we have to become professionals at avoiding injury. And this, honestly, with zone 2 running is quite feasible, as in the intensity is not that high. So the joint pounding isn't that much. But still, we must remain vigilant. And if things pop up, if we start feeling like a niggle, some pain, it is very smart to not even not do the session, just do it another way. So on the bike, on the Stairmaster, there's many different ways you can do zone 2 cardio. But yeah, remain consistent week after week because that's the way to see the benefits from this style of training. It's not something that will immediately make you better, but over time, it does work. A bit lost. Another mini thing is just enjoy it. Take photos of where you are, you're running on trails. Don't worry about taking breaks, like a small break is okay, or even just a small walking break is okay if you maintain right heart rate intensity, and just enjoy it. Enjoy it because it's going to be long sessions. It's a very high volume approach, it's going to take a lot of time, so we need to be enjoying it. But at the end of it all, how does this work? What is going to happen if you do zone 2 training properly? Basically what's going to happen is your go all day pace, so your pace at a certain heart rate intensity is going to go lower and lower. So you might start out at 530k pace, and after a month, but even less, might become 520, 515, eventually 505, eventually 455. If you keep on going, your pace is going to get lower and lower and lower. That is pretty magical, like it does work. You get faster at the same heart rate intensity. Definitely stick to it, try it out. There is a reason why everybody's talking about zone 2 training. Okay, so next up is fueling. So of course, if you're going to go for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on how long you're going to go for, we need to fuel. And we need to fuel quite a lot, actually. The one thing I would say is that with zone 2 sessions, unless you have another session coming up that's really hard, you don't really need to fuel like as in a race specific effort. I don't do 100 grams of carbs per hour at all. When I feel like it, I'll eat a gel or some maple syrup or bar, whatever. But it's like, don't really overdo it on the fueling unless I have another session coming up. So if I have like a bike ride after the run, I will eat basically like a race session in order to start recovery sooner. What happens if you don't use the carbs, they're going to get used up afterwards just by kick-starting the recovery process. But please, please, please always make sure that you bring something with you. Bring something to eat with you, because you never know when you're gonna bonk. It's actually pretty useful to know where you bonk, like going out without eating anything, and you reach a point where you basically can't output any more power at the same intensity. So that is very useful actually, but I don't recommend it. It's not a nice feeling. So try it if you must, but even on zone 2 sessions, bring something to eat. What? Oh, that is one hardcore climb. Okay guys, that was a 2.5 hour zone 2 session. Hope you found this video useful. I hope it helps you become a beast ultra endurance athlete, faster, quicker, having more fun, making more progress in less time. Hope you liked the video, and I will see you in the next one. Let's go.